gone past the hour to 9 o'clock in the morning time. Good morning to you, Grenada Car, Kupiti Martin. Well, good morning again to you, and welcome this time to The Point for this, the 8th day of the month of March. Who would imagine the Saints are marching on? Today's special, we've been talking about it all day. We celebrated the International Women's Day, and I've got three lovely ladies in studio with me. I want to say thanks to those of you that's joining me via the different platforms, whether you're on Facebook, you're on Classic Radio, or in GBN Television Channel 711, or on Channel 20 if you are on cable. I don't even want to refer to them as a guest this morning, because this morning we're changing the posture of To The Point, and we're celebrating with these wonderful ladies. Yes? So I'm going to introduce them, and I know most of you see Daisy, and you will notice I'm not introducing her but by her name, Daisy Hazzard. So allow me, in case you're wondering, it's Daisy Hazzard, Desiree Stevens, and Sonia Nixon. Nothing. There's no profiles, no designations this morning, because they're just here in their feminine capacity as we celebrate International Women's Day. Ladies, good morning and welcome to The Point.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Grenada. Good morning, Grenada.
Well, I was wondering.
Good morning to the women and girls out there. Happy International Women's Day.
I mean, I know you all personally. I know you all have more peps than that. I don't know why you were trying to be so.
As good women, we are waiting for your lead.
Well, excuse me. Okay, it's interesting. They were waiting for my lead. So, International Women's Day being held under the theme this year: Invest in Women, Accelerating Progress. And I listened to the theme, and I'm seeing investment, progress. I will start with you, Doc. Mm-hmm. What comes to mind when you hear of the theme, Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress?
I'm probably older than all of you, right? With no apologies. But hear me. I remember that first International Year of Women. You guys remember, I am woman, watch me grow, as a little girl. And I remember how motivating that song was for me. Uh-huh. Luckily, I was born into a family that pushed women. We were just children, and we had education was important, and getting ahead and doing your best was important. So your grandparents and your parents made sure that you got ahead. Even though I come from a very agrarian community, I come from Lamont. Most of the people they were employees of somebody else. Mm-hmm. But I was pushed to be my very best as a girl. There was no gender. And I went to Heinze School, where Mr. Heinze really pushed for his kids, the people who went to the school, to be their best and taught us how to get there to be your best. I remember my first experience, my first understanding of China and how China get ahead. And he took up a duster and he said, look, I'm sorry.
You know why I gave you the water, right?
I know. I look at the water and I start coughing. If somebody were to make this, let's say England would make dusters, the Chinese will take it and they will make it better. And for me, it was, how do I get myself better? And I learned that word, emulate. No, I don't have a cold, all right? And I learned the word emulate, but emulating yourself and being your best. And that is what took me on. I'm a child of the 70s. We were lucky. We were lucky because there's black power, and we learned to not see ourselves as black, but as people who could get ahead. We changed from statehood to nationhood. A lot of things happened, but the girls went ahead. We were pushed. The females were pushed. We were not kept back. As opposed to when you think of communities in the Far East. I'm sorry.
The water would help.
I have the cough as well.
I was just started now.
The water will help.
And when you think of countries in the Far East where girls are considered second-class citizens, if considered citizens at all, a lot of places where today, March 8, 2024, girls do not have equal opportunity. I think of how Grenada has invested in its women, in its girls, how we've given equal opportunity. I know we always do better anyway, but no, I'm sure of that, right? I went to a girls' school, My friends who went to other girls'
The
school. That's
AHS?
okay.
Hold on.
It's Joseph
Why do you want to?
No, we're not starting
You're
a war.
trying to bait me now. I've been trying hard not to.
I know.
Don't bait me.
Because we do the PVC.
It's our convent sister.
Yeah.
No, they went to the other school. But here, but seriously, think about it as a girl going to high school. How much we were pushed to be the best women we could be, right? And we have done it. We've proven. Who's our Governor General? Look at the women in top positions. See our PS here, right? Look at her, right? And look at the women. Do you know that more women are graduating from medical school, or more women are ended?
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna give you a chance to clear up the chest.
I don't know where this come from. So more women, we are given the opportunity, we took it.
Right.
We weren't kept back. We weren't kept in a fees. We weren't kept at home. We weren't kept out of the opportunity space. We are allowed to go in there, and we took it, and we did the best. And so Grenada has benefited. So I think that's investment, that's growth, that's advancement.
Desiree? I mean, whenever I think of Desiree, I don't think about the PS, and I hope people get me. I remember Desiree just playing netball.
Yeah.
Wait, GSS? Yes.
High school.
High school. That's how I remember her. And years later, here we are. That's what's your story as a woman that has traveled your path, and here we are today as we celebrate.
Thank you, Joe, and good morning. Well, I went to the Anglican High School, and so I went to a all-girls school, and all I knew was being pushed to be our best. I was under the reins of Mrs. Mason Francis and Mrs. Bruno Victor, who would push us to the limit to ensure that we achieved the highs that we can. And that's all I have known. And so I have played sports. I've played netball, track and field. I'm now volunteer in that area, and also serve as a PS of sports. But I've seen women being pushed to the limit. We've seen the growth of women over the years, especially in sports. We have seen our women really grow and excel. And so we are invested in them. We need to invest in them. And we have seen the rewards of those investments. So I'm happy that a day like today, when we celebrate women, we could think back on what we have achieved as women in the area of sports, especially over the years. I grew up in an era where I did not have the challenges of being held back because I was female. So I know that persons would have really excelled in their various areas because they were pushed to the limit to ensure that that happened.
Daisy, you went through the Anglican High School. I know you have these glorious memories of being a Tantine girl.
Oh,
but
yeah.
did you ever imagine your life where it is and I know people, we suddenly find success in the context of, well, she has a big yacht, a big this, a big that. But I say success taken where you were successful in whatever capacity that you serve. Did you see yourself, the impact that you're making now on our society? Did you ever quite imagine yourself that 40 years ago?
Definitely 40 years ago, I didn't see myself doing this. In fact, when I was a preteen and a young girl, I wanted to be a boy. I was actually very annoyed that I was a girl because I saw my brothers having a sort of a freedom that as a girl I didn't have. So they were free to go drivey all day. They would come back, they would get a licking maybe once a week, but then they would go again. And they seem to have had the opportunities to have fun that we girls did not have. But like the other girls here, I've come from a family. My mom is a very strong woman. My mom may not be one of those women that the society may label as very accomplished. I think her biggest accomplishment in her life is the raising of her children, and it is quite a few of us. But my mother was a very, very strong and is still the pillar of our family. And she pushed us. And the thing is, my mother pushed boys and girls equally. So although there were roles growing up, we were never subservient to our brothers. I grew up in a household where our brothers, they had to really respect us as girls, and we respected them likewise. But I would say that from that early age, seeing my mother as a quiet leader in a community, seeing my mom as a person that people would come silently to, quietly to speak to the principal, sometimes the priest, people in our community who needed counseling. And so I always knew that I wanted to be like my mom as a kind of a go-to person. But I didn't see myself actualizing in the way that I have done today. And sometimes I say to myself, Daisy, in some of the roles that you've taken on very, very heavy crosses. And if you had chosen to do other things with your life, would you be better off? Would you be wealthier? But I'm happy with where I am. And I want to say that even as I am where I am today, and I feel that I've led a successful life, I've pulled myself up, I've accumulated layers of education and experiences, but I'm still actualizing. I'm still a woman in progress. I'm still a work of art. And so the theme, invest in women and accelerate progress, I'm not done. I'm actualized, but I'm not done. I've not reached my. I have more to give, and I have more to. I have more to inspire, but I also have more to accrue unto myself as long as I'm alive, and that's what I want to encourage. Or this morning, my little grandbaby, I have a 7-year-old grandbaby, and I said to her, "It's International Women's Day," and she said to me, "What's that?" And we talked about it, and she said, "So am I a woman?" And it brought me back to my childhood, and I said to her, "You are a girl. You're a beautiful, wonderful girl, and you are going to grow into a woman, and you have to be successful."
And the important point you made here. She's asking, "Am I a woman?"
Yes.
And very often, when it comes to getting women to understand and appreciate who they are, you tend to wait until when they're done with secondary school and it's all over and they're done a given path. How important is it from that very early age? I mean, you said, Sonia, you recognize it quite early.
Quite early.
Here you are. How important is it that identity factor kicks in early?
And I've spoken of women's health with you, and I think the cradle of a healthy nation, I'm going to look from a health standpoint, right, is a healthy woman, right? You don't want somebody who's a drunkard or who live on the street, who has poor nutrition, who has mental illness that's untreated, who doesn't really have any ambition being your baby's mother, right?
True. The church say amen.
I don't want her to be my mother either. Okay? So the women, if we make good women by making good babies, and good babies comes out of good women, and good women grow into better women when they provide when they have something precious to go. So that cycle, let's penetrate it one place and make a good woman out of a good woman. So it must come from conception. You're always a woman once you have that gender, right? And Lord, they're gonna kill me for that, but that's all right. I wouldn't lie down and die. The truth is, I think the woman who perpetuates, right, mankind starts from the woman before her. So when you're born, you're already a woman with that potential for being a good woman and creating other good women and men, of course.
And the reality is that while in this hemisphere, there's so much of the luxuries and benefits that we enjoy, a lot of women take it for granted. And you flip the script and go to a different part of the hemisphere, and the basic amenities that women enjoy here, in some parts of the world, we talk about the abuse, the victimization. It makes you wonder.
The inequities.
The inequity. And let's get to that one, because it's a conversation that you've had. We got in universal suffrage. We said, yes, praise our women. But why do you think 50 years as a nation, as we celebrate and reflect, why is it that you seem to be existing? There's still that barrier. We see the successes, but yet some individuals,
I'd like to take a stab at that one.
Yes, go on.
You read it.
You see, there are and there is still the stereotyping, and there is still the gender and the role balancing. So in as much as not just Grenada, but in as much as the world has advanced, and in as much as there's all these opportunities and equalities and so that we have in the western part of the world that women in other parts of the world may not have, there are still nuances. And we're still very traditional. Like I mentioned a while ago, I said we were waiting for you to lead us. There is still that mindset that says that men have to be the head, and so women must defer in certain ways. And we don't want to challenge any philosophies or so this morning, but as women, we have to be leaders. But you would look at situations where when you, like our PSA, if you look at the public service, for instance, more of the PSAs are women, more of the leaders are women. But when you get to the top, it's always the male.
In health as well.
And we have never had a female prime minister. And if you speak to people now, I think people would still tell you, I don't think Grenada is ready for. So why not? Why, with all the inherent rights and freedoms that women have, the parity, and I'm coming to it, I don't think that there is all that parity and all that equity, even inside that full body of rights that we enjoy. So you look at, let's say, graduates. You look at girls coming out of schools versus boys, and boys may come out with less education, and then you look at them 10 years later, 5 years later, the boys are earning more. They're further ahead. Meanwhile, the girls are struggling to put themselves through university. We're incurring debts of, let's say, $100,000 for a master's degree or PhD, and then we come around and we're still not earning as much as the boys, because the boys go into more traditional male roles in the skilled areas, and the girls go into the more traditional, quote-unquote, academic roles. And these academic roles, unless you get to the very pinnacle, it doesn't pay as much as the skilled roles. And that is where we have to begin to break that gap and to bridge that gap, so that our girls must understand, coming out of school, and even while you're there and you're focusing on careers, look for the skills. Look for the careers in IT. You look at guys in IT, their earning power is above mine and yours, and they're just entering the industry. And meanwhile, their female counterparts may be going on to be a clerk, typist, a receptionist. Girls, you don't have to settle to being a receptionist. Let the males take up some of those roles, and let us take up some of the roles in IT and in the construction industry and in engineering and in architecture and all of that. So let us not pigeonhole, and our school system has to get away. We as parents and as women in the society have to nudge and push our girls into getting out of the stereotypical roles.
And I agree with you 100%. But let me just make this point, though. The challenge that exists, though, that many would argue, that is the very women, if your son comes home and say to you,
I want to be a typist.
But it's not a typist. It's an executive assistant.
Or your son says to you, I want to become a nurse. I want to become a typist.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, you could only but imagine the look that would be on that very mother's face if it's not to suggest, what is wrong with you?
You're not a man.
But
so
we have to go back. We have to go back, and it goes back to how we orient our children. Those conversations we have with them at those early age.
But isn't it how we are oriented that we orient?
Well, we need
it's hard to break out of the mold.
To break that.
Even while we speak it, it's still difficult, because there's certain things you just don't want your son coming home and saying to you, I want to get into this. But we have brilliant, even here in Grenada, we have brilliant male nurses.
I remember I always say, if I have to do it all over again, I would go the path of skills.
Yes.
Because I see the benefits. I remember looking at some of the persons I went to school with at primary school who we considered dunce. They were not excelling academically. And those are the same persons I now have to call to come and fix my toilet in my house. And I have to fork out all this money now to pay them.
For doing what?
For doing what? Exactly. But they chose that path, and they went down that road. I sit behind an office desk.
Cute.
8 to 4, how many days a week, air condition, and looking nice, and get a flat salary at the end of the month. These people make their own money and their own wealth.
We were talking about the orientation that our children get. So in my house, the roll is better roll over and make up your bed. Okay? So my daughter's probably about 5, and they had a Cub Scout jamboree here, and they asked families to take some of the boys for breakfast and spend the day this Sunday. So my daughter was first grandchild, only child in the house, and she had a big bag of toys. Enough dolly and thing, but those guys came and shared other things. So the guys, they're probably like 6 little boys. And I stepped out into a little war. I wanted to step back in. There's my 5-year-old standing with a hand on her hip. Who you calling, girl? Who you calling, girl? Because we were finished playing, and she says, okay, put my toys back in my bag. And one boy was rude enough to tell her, I mean, older than her, you know, tell her, pick it up, she's a girl. And the girl was on with her hand on her hip, ready to fight. And I said, what happened here? He called me a girl. I said, why? She said, because I tell him to pick up my toys. And I said, you're going to have to pick up the girl's toys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And that was the end of it. But here, this child may have grown up in an environment where the girls do this and the girls do that.
Yeah.
So even use a girl toy and a dolly trolley and all the rest, the girl still has a responsibility. It has to do with how you, because nobody ever tell her she has to pick up her toys because she's a girl. She just needs to pick up her toys.
Because
So
she's
she needs
used
to
to
pick up her
toys.
bed.
Yeah.
The
Because
gender shouldn't have
Yeah.
anything
the
to
gender
do
doesn't
with
have
it.
anything. So we have to be very careful how we perpetuate these gender roles and how we do gender this and gender that. Because that's part of the reason. Can I tell you, I grew up and all I hear this girl saying, I am woman, watch me
Hear
go,
me
watch me
roar.
roar, hear me roar. And I'm like,
But
"Ooh."
is it possible? And I mean, asking this honestly, because we live with the problem. It exists. It really and truly exists. This caller, this contributor is saying here, we have to change the language. Women should not be pushed. The playing field needs to be even and level. No preference to gender. And while I agree 100%, let's get into the hard talk now. How do we change it? Is it possible? Desiree?
Yes, it is possible. It definitely
And I
is
want you,
possible.
while you're thinking about it, you give me the rest, think of it as a parent as well. How, because it is hinged to the point that Sonia's making. Parenting, nurturing.
It is possible. And I have 2 boys. And they've always known that there isn't girl work and boys work. Everything we have to do at home, everybody does it. So I do, they clean, they wash, they cook. I do that as well. So I've grown them in that, and they have grown in a family that is predominantly female. They have. When I remember, my 2 boys are the only 2 boys on their father's side in that family. So they have grown up with women around them, and that is what we have instilled in them. That is not male and female, but we are all equal, and whatever we do, we have to do it equally. And that is what I have instilled in them. Their family have instilled in them. And I think that is what we need to do. We have a lot of young parents who have grown up in families where they saw the father being the leader and the one who has done everything. I did not grow that way. I grew up with my parents. To me, my mother always took the lead.
Right.
My father would sit back and she would take the lead. And that is what I have seen. And that is what I have grown with. And so I don't know this thing about stepping back and allowing a male to lead or to take control. Although she would take the lead, he provided. So they were equal. And that is what I know. And that is what I instill in my children. That you are equal. Everyone is equal.
Daisy?
I agree with the person who commented that we have to push everybody and there should be no preference. I agree that we cannot push our girls and push our women and don't include the men. Because then who would be the men for us women? And as a woman, as girls here, we need our men. We need you guys. In as much as we are saying, grow everybody, have the parity, and show that we're not stereotyping in terms of the role, there's certain things that I just need a man to help me with.
Exactly.
There's certain things I can't lift by myself, and I'd prefer to have a male strength to help me. So we need our men. However, we are coming from a socialization, a human civilization where women were always seen as inferior. And so the gains and the freedoms that has been accrued onto us in the last century or so, and in the last maybe 70 years after World War II, they were not just given. We had to fight for them, and we had to push for them. And our male counterparts also had to fight along with us women so that we can have some of the freedoms that we enjoy today. And the minute we forget that, the minute that we forget that these rights and freedoms did not come about naturally, and they were hard fought for, we're going to lose them. And as we're looking at a society where, in general, a guy can get a girl pregnant and he goes off. He may see that child when that child graduates from university, and then he can say, that's my daughter, and she has a PhD. But the mother, the woman, the girl who's impregnated, she does not have a choice but to pick up that baby and nurture that child. And we see that a lot in our societies. Even among professional women now, we see professional having babies. Where are the men? They're there doing it. So there's not much change between them and our mothers and our grandmothers. And so we still have to push, we still have to narrow, we still have to fight for some equity, and we still have to break the stereotypes so that there's more parity and equity among men and women.
So do I hear you say basically that bringing up our children must not have a biological outlook per se? We can't just say boys, girls. We train our children so they can be good people.
And that is why even as we celebrate IWD and we're pushing women, I'm saying we can't leave our men behind. Although in some respects they're ahead of us, but in some respects they're behind us. And we have to ensure that there is a sort of a balance in the society so that men can have good women and women can have good men, and we can raise our children and our society so that we can all be empowered and accelerate.
25 minutes on to the hour. I always knew an hour was going to be.
I asked you.
I don't know why we're doing this. We'll take a quick commercial break. When I come back, though, when I ask you the question, and we'll engage in some calls, what impact, what's the influence that the Bible has had on how we view the role of men and women, and whether or not, in this ever-changing circle of life, we can really and truly break the shackles. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back on To The Point.
The Planning and Development Authority of Grenada, PDA, is enforcing regulations to curb illegal, disorderly, and unauthorized development in several locations throughout the state of Grenada. The authority is concerned that structures mainly associated with vending are negatively impacting the environment, has undesirable public health and sanitation consequences, present obstructions to vehicle and pedestrian traffic, can become projectiles during adverse weather conditions, and generally affect the aesthetics of the nation. The PDA will work along with stakeholder ministries and institutions to effect the demolition, removal, and disposal of structures which fall in the category of illegal and disorderly development, commencing January 2024. In this regard, persons who vend in or occupy such illegal structures are advised to secure their personal belongings and have the structures removed ahead of the planned PDA demolition operations. These actions of the PDA have become necessary to safeguard and protect public health and the environment, ensure the safety and well-being of all citizens and visitors, discourage any future disorderly construction, and encourage compliance to regulations pertaining to physical development in the state of Grenada. This is a message from the Planning and Development Authority of Grenada.
I keep saying the more interesting conversations takes place while we're on the break, but I live by the code that says whatever I said, what happens on the break?
Stays in the break.
Stays on the break. Welcome back. We celebrated International Women's Day. With me in studio, Daisy Hazzard. Oh, what's wrong with me?
Desiree.
Did that just happen?
No.
That must be an adult moment. I don't know. Desiree has Desiree Stevens and Sonia Nixon, and of course we celebrated. We discussed all the different garbage. But before we did say we're going to go to the discussion though. But we're going to engage this caller. Good morning, caller. You're alive. Yes, you're alive. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, good morning. Go ahead.
I'm not hearing you.
Go ahead. You're alive.
I'm not hearing. I'll try again. I'm not hearing anything. Sorry.
452041. We've highlighted the successes. We've highlighted also the challenges, and we accept them. And we've talked about leadership, yeah. And but we were at a point, the juncture where I've asked the question: what role or what influence has the scriptures, the Bible, in the context of men being the head of the home? What sort of impact has that had on us historically, as a culture, as a people? Is that part of why we grapple with this challenge? Because we're still a Christian society and we accept the fact that, well, the Bible says... Yes, Sonia, say it.
You want me to go first?
Yes, I want you to go first. Belch it out.
I have 2 points.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't it about the girl who chopped up John Baptist's head?
Oh, Jesus.
She ran her husband, right?
Yeah, she told her husband...
She don't represent most of us, okay?
Right.
She had... What the name of the guy? The king? That I don't know.
Well, I know the story.
I know the story.
But when he asked, "What do you want?" she said, "I want John's head."
Yeah.
Yes.
She run things, okay?
Yeah, Esther.
Such a name?
No. Yeah.
And then you had Judith, and you had Marys, and you had Magdalenes. You had different women's roles. And they were, I think most of the women in the Bible were shown as strong. They're strong and bad, okay? But they're strong and very good. And I think what we have done, I don't know that we've really taken one role and developed how women should be. What I know is that women always come out as virtuous for the most part, right? And although we give the snake the apple, we take the apple, but that's but we're powerful. No, women, no, we're more assertive. Okay, I think the influence is a lot more generic and more broad based. I think Mary accepting to be Jesus' mother is a big thing. You come to who's this thing? This man's up in a white gown with light all around him. Tell me I'm gonna have the savior. But this man, I don't even have a gentleman. I'm supposed to get married, but I'm a little girl. I'm a young girl.
You're behaving yourself.
And I behave myself. Right. Come to me, I'm gonna have a baby. And then think about it. They could stone me in the square now. Yeah. If I'm pregnant at 60 and talk about how angel come and give me a story, right? So there are women who took on roles that were almost out of context culturally and temporally, and they took it on and they did what they had to do.
But you get a sense that even the church leaders, who push very often for their own selfish reasons, push that agenda. Because you look, of course, Mary defines societal norms. Yeah? Okay. Defines societal norms. When we look at the side of Christianity on the Sunday, who went to the tomb? Yeah. Who brought the message back? Another Mary Magdalene. But yet, the very institution that was birthed from it, that a woman gave rise to on that day, the men, that very institution, seem to think, well, do we get a sense that we understand? Is it misinterpretation and understanding what leadership, what being the head means?
I think we come from, again, we're going back to the cradle of civilization. We're going back to how our human society has evolved. Civilization has evolved. And it's been very male-dominated and very patriarchal. And the truth is that men have engineered things. Men have engineered research and perhaps even the Bible to suit their whims and their fancies, to suit what they want. We understand how the King James Version came about, but I don't think we want to have a discussion on that kind of a philosophy. What I would say is our society still by and large kind of a believe that men must be the head. And I've come to a place in my life, for most of my life, if not all of my life, even now, I kind of resist that. But I've come to an uneasy compromise where I'm not fighting and struggling with any male to be the head. You go be the head if you want to. I'm the neck. I'm swiveling this thing all around. So, as Dr. Sonia said here, women are the leaders. We are the ones who break barriers. We are the ones who break boundaries. We are the ones who push and dare. And so I have no difficulty with a male, according to Christian and biblical principles, who wants to be the head. I'm the leader. So you be the head, I'm going to lead, I'm going to be the neck. And we can complement each other's strengths. And I think that is where our society has to go. How do we complement each other's strength? I'm a strong woman, but there's strengths that a male may inherently have because of his physiological makeup that I do not have. I'm not fighting that. I just want to bring my feminine grace and my feminine strength
and resilience.
So that we can balance that for a better society.
The issue of leadership, do you think it has more to do with the one who takes ultimate responsibility in an eventuality that there is failure? So if you want to, because to me, the way I see it, the head at the end of the day in any organization, there's going to be leadership.
But there's no failure.
So your role has to do with you as a leader, and understand it. Yeah. Listen, your job is to make sure this thing is done right. Whether it means you do one part, Desiree understands our part. Whether or not I go to work, you go to work, ultimately we come together for the common good.
Yes. But that is what makes a good leader. So you could be a good leader. You don't necessarily have to do it yourself. But how do you get others to do what needs to be done to achieve what you have to do? So I'm the leader in my organization. I'm the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Youth and Sports. But I'm not the one out there fixing the playing fields.
Right.
I'm not the one there going out with the youth division on the blocks with the people to sit down to have those conversations. I may be there, but I'm not the one pushing it. How do we use everybody? How do we bring everybody together?
And that's where
I
good
think
leadership comes.
that is where good leadership comes.
Let's see what this caller says. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Yes, Joe, good morning.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I want to say to your panelists, when they talk about the Bible and who is head and who is it, we have to realize we are created by a creator. And he has rules, he has everything. Regardless of what we may think about the Bible, the key thing is we must have a spiritual conversion. And when we are converted, our hearts, our thought, everything changes because God places his Holy Spirit in us. And therefore we will understand better the Word of God, because the Spirit of God himself is the author of the Word. Jesus himself is the Word. He said the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. So if we do not have that experience with Christ, when we are not converted, where our heart is not touched, we will always be in chaos. Because we don't believe that who want to be head, who must be the neck, and all. These things do not fit in Christianity. When we have Christ living in us, we want to obey him because the Spirit of the Lord will direct our path. So what the first thing we need is to receive Christ in our hearts, have our sins forgiven, and let God rule us. And we will be submitted to him. Not to a religion, not to a denomination, not to a church, not to a
caller, let me ask you.
God Almighty, through Jesus Christ, led and guided and directed by the Holy Spirit.
But caller,
Thank you very much.
No, don't go ahead. I want to ask you a question. Caller, you there? I hate when they hit a quick, they juke it there for a single and they stamp her up. Listen. The reality is that, because I didn't understand what she's saying.
Because
it's an excellent.
The conversion is not just it's for everybody.
Because the very individuals within the churches, most churches, that are the ones that's preaching the conversion, they push this doctrine, this male-dominated doctrine, that even in a lot of churches, some don't even believe that women
have a right.
Do we really want to have this conversation?
No, that's a conversation for another day.
For another time.
Man, you can be the head. Man, you can be the head.
But I think I really respect the caller for bringing that point up because. But I wanted to remember the conversion is for everybody, both male and female.
Yeah.
We are all created by that Creator.
Equally.
God has given, and He's telling the men to lead. Yes, lead. But guess what? They can't do nothing alone. Men can have children by themselves. We can have children by ourselves.
It takes a coming together.
It takes a coming together. And
we need each other.
What has happened is that society has accepted through the ages that the men take the role and the women just drag along like a sheep behind the men, which is not what
we look at the industrial age, and we probably started a lot of. We go back to World War I, World War II. The men went out to fight. Who were working in the factories?
Held on the society.
No.
So let's talk about
who made arms.
And not just that. When the men began dying out, and there were not enough men to call up, women then began to go into to be pilots and to be drivers. That's when women first started driving in World War II. Yeah.
And they would do it just as equal, no difference.
Stepped up.
Well, they were never treated equal. Yeah. They were never treated equally. Yeah. But they had to, just as blacks. Yeah. In World War II, blacks were called up as well. They were never treated equally. They were used for what they could bring to the war. Women were used for what they could bring to the war. They were never treated equally. But that is what really started the revolution, where that sort of rights and freedoms of women and understanding that women can do so much more than just cook a meal.
Let's go to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You're live. Hello, caller. Hello. 2041, that's the number that is on the inside. We continue to follow this contributor says, I'm watching the ladies in Grenada. Well, happy International Women's Day. We must raise our boys to be men. The broken home cycle must stop. Our men must be taught how to provide and protect the family. Daisy Hazzard, for instance, that looks maybe personal, I don't know. A good woman is a good investment.
No, we're not. We're not investments. We're not investments.
No, I want to come back. How are families making good women,
yeah.
of their children? Even single mothers, because we have also experience as single mothers.
Yeah.
It's part of the...
It's a broader society.
Right. How are we? How's the church? Because I think the church has... I keep saying to everybody, why aren't we giving the church bigger roles for societal development? That's what everybody goes, everybody believes, everybody trusts our leaders. How are they making us better women?
But the question, though, is the church willing to change its norms, laws, and statutes, its belief? So, listen, a lot of things...
Let's not start World War III.
No, I want to start World War III.
When you say that, when you say it's the church, is it the church which is a congregation with a voice, or is it the church which is pastor or father, whoever running the thing?
But then again,
wherever
listen,
the
the
hierarchy
church,
comes.
there is a building. The church is the people.
Yes, but sometimes some churches is pastor. Okay.
Oh, you know what? You know what? We have 5 minutes more. Let's not even go there. Because I could see that. I could see that as a Pandora's box. As we look forward, ladies, what should the message be to our young women as we institute the investment potentials and we accelerate that growth process? What should we be saying to them, in all honesty, Desiree?
For me, it would be that don't allow anybody to hold you back. There are opportunities out there. We should not be looking at gender as it relates to opportunity. Opportunities are for everybody.
Right.
Anything you want to do, do it. Doc was telling us during the break, your daughter is a?
Well, she's a dentist now, but my daughter is originally studying airport design engineering.
Exactly. So the non-traditional jobs that were back then predominantly male-oriented, we have to get our young girls at an early age. We have to educate them of what is out there. If you're interested in something, don't let anybody hold you back. I was never held back. My dad allowed me to do what I want. As Daisy mentioned, at an early age, I wanted to be a boy. Yeah. Because those were the opportunities. My dad would allow me to go in the playing field whole day, play football, play cricket, play everything. I did that growing up. But then I came into my being and figured this is what I want to do. And nobody held me back from doing that.
Well. I don't know, people just walk into my studio. They just walk into the studio. Well, my dear ladies, again, you see why it was imperative that you come and we celebrate.
Thank you very much.
Happy Women's Day.
Hugs and kisses and all the love.
And it's women.
Sure, you can get
Treating
here
women.
anytime.
Wonderful.
Good morning, Joseph, and good morning to all your listeners. We just had to take a pause and to celebrate the beautiful, lovely women we have in our midst this morning. You are leaders in your industry, and we salute you, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate the fact that you always step forward whenever we call on you to lend your voice to various issues that help us build as a nation. Thank you. And happy International Women's Day.
Thank you.
And
Thank
may
you.
continue.
Thank you, ladies. Happy
I'm telling you, I know you understand why I insisted that you needed to be here. Please come, show up, make sure that you are here so we can celebrate this. Yes?
Thank you.
Cadbury chocolate?
Yeah, my favorite. Fruit and
But
nuts.
they say encouragement seekers labor, so we have to come back.
I'm touched.
I wanted to answer a question. Just we got you finished?
Yes.
Yeah.
So hear me. I believe that whenever there's a problem, you have to approach it two ways. You have to fix what's bad, and while you're working on the good.
Right.
I'd like to see us encourage our girls, our women, to be whatever they can be.
No limitations to
No
it.
limitations. I think those of us who have made it, we need mentoring for our girls. We need support for families. There's so much that we need to do. You know, there are women who catching the hell, but they're trying to make the best out of their girls, right? And just the children in general, because you could bring up all our children to be good people, your girls will be good women.
But here's a challenge, though, and I want to make sure that we get this out. We grew up as a society, and this is how we grew up. We tell our boys that they need to be good boys, listen to mommy, obey. When I tell you go, you go, and you must do all the hard work. We tell our girls, and they have to then go and find the work. But we tell our girls, listen, be nice, soft, submissive, don't say nothing, and find a good man to take care of you, to make some children, and you become, that's what makes that difference. And therein, if you ask me, I categorically, unequivocally would say, therein resides
some of the root.
The root of the.
So I grew up in a family where I'm the first grandchild, right? And my grandfather was 72 years when I was born. And so my grandfather was dividing his property. He's 72 years, right? So by the time I'm 18, he's probably going to be dead. But let's look at this really, okay?
Right.
My grandfather had a shop. And when he wrote his will, which he asked me to write, I sit down and dictate it. I'm a teenager. And he says, I get a shop because I'm a girl.
Yes.
And just in case I don't have a husband, I have a means of surviving. Well, I go to medical school, right? And my grandfather changed his will.
So you no longer got the shop?
I don't know shop because I'm going to be a professional. I can take care of myself, and he gave it to my mother. Okay? You know, my husband might did before. Do you understand? But that is thinking out. That is thinking. That's being strategic, right? We kind of need to empower whatever the family is.
Yes.
Because we have so many non-traditional families. We need to empower them. We need to, and I think a lot of the messages have to be more subliminal than go and make a big campaign and make noise. I think we have enough of us. Do you mentor anybody?
Oh yeah, I do.
Right?
Yes.
And you need to, and we need to be kind and respectful.
Yes.
And because let me tell you something, you can tell children anything you want in school and all there, and you have to go home to the realities.
Yes.
I hear people quarreling about the kids. I work in the mall, and people come and they make noise, and they go on, and I tell the common girls, "Convent girl, please." No, seriously, I have a responsibility to make sure common girl look like what a common girl should look like. But let's be nice. Because they don't want to be as grumpy as our generation, okay? Let's be respectful. Let's be exemplary. Because I can't go on with dental floss on, what do we down on the bottom name? On Kiriani James and tell a girl, hey, why your pants so short? Do you understand? I can play calm and say, oh, it's calm and I can show my body out the road. And yet, I'm telling a teenager who, trust me, who have all the assets of wearing short pants, okay? Tell her that she shouldn't wear short pants. So we need to be an exemplary generation for the young people that we're trying to help. We need to figure out what are their problems instead of saying, hey, what's going on? Make friends with the kids. Make friends with our young women. Support the women who are young women who are single parents because they have it hard. They have it hard just giving them material, and then they have it hard. They can't think about making a child who have discipline and service secondary when you can't find milk on a morning to give your children.
I want to agitate another issue before we go. It's just about, we should be wrapping it already though.
Yeah.
The issue of respect for women.
Yeah.
Respect. The music, the dress code, the everything else. And very often, yesterday I was making mention, there was a song years ago, girl bathing, dog no bathing. And who do you think jam into it the most? Girls. Who perpetuates it more?
JT, we're never going to get away from influences.
Right.
As a society, we're never going to get away from influences. There are always going to be young people because every generation begets children. And young people are always going to push boundaries and push the envelope. So for me, I don't think that is something that we need to cry too much. I know our society does it. And you know, the young people today, I was the young people. You were the young people. We all were at one point the young person that the generation before complained about. And it has nothing to do with the age of technology because the age of technology is pushing all of us as a society into different ways. So we need to be a bit more tolerant. We need to be a bit more tolerant of the experiences of young people, of young girls, of the phases and the challenges that they are going to go through. But we have a responsibility to ourselves as women to be exemplary, to be women. No matter what role we are conducting, no matter where we are called to be strong, no matter where we are called to be leaders, we are not necessarily competing with men, but we have to dare to be the best that we can be, to be all that we can be. And I want to say to our women out there, because there is statistics that will show it, women may be more responsible for keeping back girls and pushing them into stereotypes than anything else, than even men. Because we believe that is what a woman ought to be. And a woman ought to be all of the feminine wiles, all of the graces and everything that God has blessed us with. But at the same time, we are strong, and we have to build a society, and we need our men and boys. So it goes back to the family, how we nurture the family, how we raise the family together with our men. Yeah. Men, we need you.
You got to be Judith and Ruth.
I would not dilute the conversation.
Men,
I will
we
leave.
need
I think nothing lifts a man ego than a woman telling them, I need you.
Yes.
I wouldn't even dilute the conversation. I would leave it right there.
No, hold on. Let me dilute it. Yes. Because listen to me. I need you to be
the man that I can look up to and respect.
To accept my support.
Yes.
I need you to understand. I need you to explain. So don't come in and put on rules here and walk off like a thingy bad. No, I'm serious. That's just.
And I'm agreeing with you.
I need you to be
the man that I can look up to.
Every male should be the best that he can be.
Absolutely.
Every woman should be the best that
then
she can be. And we compliment
then we don't need an International Women's Day.
Other.
No.
But even then again, you have International Women's Day. Is it International Men's Day?
Yes. Oh, celebrate you every day.
You do?
Yes. They get jealous.
Yes.
No, I'm actually quite comfortable. I don't hold on to these stereotypes. I often say that I wash, I cook, I clean, I do all of those stuff. My mother grew me up to do everything. But she used to say, so that no woman could cut stand on me.
But that's not the reason.
That's not the reason.
Because in her mind, she growing up, she's thinking, I don't want no woman make my boy challenge each other. So she said, let me teach you. But for me, I think we need to grow up teaching our children to love and appreciate. What a woman wears should not influence as a boy what you think she is. That may just be her choice, and that might be a different conversation. But if you learn to respect her for being who she is, then you will see, you can appreciate what you see, but that doesn't mean you got to get your testosterone all in a bubble. It starts flowing through your nose and becoming what you are.
Our boys sufficient boundaries.
Yeah.
We've given all to the girls, and the boys could do.
The boys are always.
That's why I wanted to be a boy, because I had to be at home, in the house, in the yard.
Where the girls who get pregnant in school, the teenage mothers,
she gets thrown out.
And shamed.
She gets embarrassed.
And
she
shamed.
belly in front of her, and she has to go to the special school, and that's okay. And the boys can pick up a backpack and go to school like nothing happened. What happened to his responsibility? How are you going to teach him to be a better man as he grows up, to understand responsibilities? How do we do that? Why do we talk to girls alone about pregnancy?
And we don't tell. It has to be an equal playing field.
That's
conversation should be
when we start
equal.
talking about adolescent health, we're going to talk about that.
That's what the conversation should be. Teach respect. Teach each and every one appreciate respect for others.
And that's where equity comes in.
And that's where
And inclusion. That's how we inspire each other.
Yes.
That's where we leave the conversation. A minute gone past, we're late, but you know what? Zafe.
Zafe we?
Zafe that.
And what did you say? And it's that.
And it's that.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you for having us.
I do hope you enjoy the rest of International Women's Day. Continue being the best that you can be. Continue to live life, love life. Let's treat each day as though it's our last day on planet Earth. You sleep, you wake, you realize you're still here. I ask you and I commit to you to find your divine purpose and just do that which you have to do. Until then, JC loves you. Well, tomorrow is Saturday. I'm not in early, but I'll be in with you from 10 until 12. But you know what we do on a Saturday? We just shake it down. More music. Let's talk. Until then, so long, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.